Hi everybody, this is Hustle Hub. I'm Giacomo, and today we are with a special guest. He is Kunal Doshi. He has his own channel, Professor Kunal Doshi. He focuses on the CFA certification. He has the CFA certificate himself. So please introduce yourself. Let's tell us what you do and what we can find on your channel.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Kunal, and I have been in the teaching industry for the last 8 to 10 years. I'm chartered financial analyst myself, and I do train for CFA candidates for all the levels in India, in Canada, for students from Middle East, everywhere across. I mean, thanks to the technology that now we have, I am now able to connect with students all over the world. So on my channel, I keep on posting small concept videos about CFA and finance related courses. That's what I do. Apart from that, what I do is that I do train candidates for corporates, individuals, and various other levels. So my objective is to let people know what exactly CFA is, how it has changed my way of thinking about finance, how finance is not difficult, it's very easy to understand, provided you follow the process. And I do share the tips and tricks of how to clear CFA level 1. So it's not something, I was a very average student. So if I can do it, how others can also do it, what are the things necessary for you all to clear CFA? That's what I keep on guiding the students. So this is what I do for the last 8 to 10 years. Before that, I was working with various banks into investment banking, into research, into valuation. So all my life, I've been doing everything about finance. I just love finance. So I do some investments, I do valuation about it, and I do teach the same thing. So this has been my life journey all across. Yes.
Okay, let's talk about a bit more about the CFA. So what is it about the CFA that is so special? Why is this CFA so important, so well recognized compared to other certifications like the FRM or many others?
Okay. So first of all, the need of CFA did arise from the fact that the financial markets were getting integrated. So there was a need for a common parameter or a common, curriculum. So, for example, if I learn finance from my country, it was more specific to the financial markets of only my country. But then we wanted some global financial platform where the financial products, the new products like derivatives and all, they were getting introduced, and everyone wanted to know more about it. Now, everyone cannot afford to do a MBA degree, which is very costly at times and very competitive. And many of the people who were already into the industry working, they could not afford to quit their job and do management studies for 2 years or 3 years. So for all of them, having a globally recognized curriculum, which is competitive, which you can do or manage with your jobs, which is very practical in nature, updated. So there was a requirement of such common, curriculum. And that's where CFA Institute came into the picture. So now the reason why CFA is so much recognized is because that, you are a CFA from Italy, I am a CFA from India, or wherever I am from. We all stand at the same point for a potential, as a potential candidate for any company. So now a company does find it easier to hire a CFA because these guys have already covered the basics of finance. So the companies don't have to train them a lot as what they initially had to. So for companies, it has become much easier to pick up candidates based on these qualities, and then it becomes easier for them to get the job done. So that one common that one common certification was very much essential. And now it has become so common that everyone would want you to at least pass level 1 and level 2. So it's basically the industry demand for CFA that is increasing the value for CFA. It's the same, what 40-50 years back, the demand for engineers was more because of the Cold War and so situation. So now we are into the thing that we require financial engineers more. So we require people who have qualities of finance and other things also. But everyone needs to know finance. So that's the demand that everyone, and it's doable with job. So we all live in a world where whatever work we do, we all constantly have to upgrade with the latest knowledge, and CFA does stand out there.
Okay, so if there is a standard for companies that want to hire financial analysts, why are companies training analysts even after they get hired? What is the benefit of them having the CFA even after they get hired, and what is their interest in that?
So are you talking about the company's point of view, or
The company's point of view?
So if I were to understand your question is why companies are interested in candidates doing CFA, is it?
Yeah, and why they're paying so much for them to do the CFA and covering all the costs and so on.
Correct, sir. So I have come across various companies who are sponsoring candidates doing CFA, who are sponsoring candidates for their tuitions of doing CFA and all, and that's a very good activity by companies. The reason that, as I said, just imagine, so I joined a company called JP Morgan, a global bank, in 2007. And when I joined the company, I realized that within 1 or 2 years, I was made to do some small trainings, around 10 to 15 certifications I had to do. So most of the global companies want their employees very up to date with financial markets, because the numbers, the accounts or the finance reports that you're going to deal with, you don't want your your company employees to get engaged into training your employees. So it's better you send them, make them understand all the financial products, so they come back and then they can explain that to the clients. So it becomes easier for a company to sponsor you for CFA rather than they training you so much. So that has become easier task for the companies, and that's why they are sponsoring CFA. So they don't have to work on making the curriculum, they don't have to work on training them, they rather make it easier by telling you to get the CFA, to work for it, and once you pass, we'll pay for it. So from the company's point of view, we live in a world where companies want to outsource everything. So why not training also to be outsourced to the candidates? That's what from the company point of view, I think that's where they are now pushing for candidates to do CFA. And many companies have now made it important that before you join us, you should have a CFA level 1, irrespective of whatever degree you have. Let's say you have an engineering degree or you have a degree in accounts. Still, they want you to pass at least level 1 so that you know the basics of financial markets. We don't have to train you from the scratch. So that's where CFA has become very important.
So is it becoming a standard even all over the places that you educate students? Is it becoming the same in, for example, the UAE, India, and other places in the world, or in some places they just look for a degree in economics and finance and so on?
Okay, so here's the thing. For example, let's say you are the one who is going to hire me, and I tell you that I've done my master's from some university in the interiors of India. You will never understand what is the quality of that master's degree because you don't know that institute, right?
Yeah.
But if I say that, I've done CFA level 1, 2, or 3, that immediately tells you that, wow, this is recognizable. This is something that I understand is worth it. So that's the reason why that one global degree was very essential. Now, if I do an MBA from Harvard or Wharton, well, that says all. You don't have to then check out my other credentials. In the same way, CFA has now become a very important credential that I think, if you would have asked me this question 10 to 12 years back when I was doing CFA, it was very difficult for me to convince my friends and families that I'm doing something like this. But now I think gradually everyone is doing. And the best thing about CFA is that whether you come from a commerce background or whether you come from an engineering background or you come from any background, you can do CFA. So I have students in my class, who are just graduates, must be in their 20s. And I also have students in my class who are vice president at an oil company with the age of 55. So anyone and everyone does CFA.
Okay. So that should be, if you want to get into finance, but you don't come from an economics and finance background, that has become a must for people in order to get hired, right?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so let's tell us a bit your experiences before becoming a mentor for all the people trying to do the CFA. Tell us a bit about your experience in JP Morgan and all the other experiences you had and what you learned from them.
Okay. So JP Morgan, I joined directly after my graduation. There, I was working into corporate finance, but I always used to find something lacking because just being a graduate or just doing your bachelor's, they don't let you do the job that you expect. You know, we all see movies like Wolf of Wall Street, and we expect we'll be in the suits and all, we'll be doing billions of dollars of deal. Well, that's not the case. If you're not from a very high qualification background, then you would be probably just entering numbers behind computers. That's what you do. So I was into a good company, but my profile was not that great, and that's where I thought that I need to get into something into the front office. I need to deal with clients, and for that I wanted to learn. So my JP Morgan experience was more into back office. In fact, while in JP Morgan, that inspired me to do CFA is I was sitting at my desk, and that's where the news came that JP Morgan took over Bear Stearns for $1. So I was laughing at that incident that how can a company buy another company for $1? Had they asked me, I could have bought it for $2. But that was my immaturity of finance. Even after having a bachelor's degree, I had never seen a financial report. I had never seen a balance sheet or income statement. So I realized that practical aspect was lacking in my basic education. So I then researched what is an education which helps me learn more about it. That's where I started my journey of CFA. And along with that, I was doing jobs. So after JP Morgan, I did join a company where I used to do commodities trading and currency trading. I worked there for a year, understanding about the currencies and commodities aspect. Then I got an opportunity in 2011 where I was handling IPO research. So I covered around 40 to 50 IPOs. That was the year. Fortunately, in India, we had around 40 to 50 IPOs in 1 year. So my job was to actually get the red herring prospectus, which is around 400, 500 pages. I had to read through that, make a financial report of 4 to 5 page, and then send it to the clients with your recommendation, whether you should buy or sell. So that was a pure, unbiased, and very amazing opportunity that I had. And then going ahead, I was then put into a large bank in India where I had the opportunity of doing the entire wealth management process, where I used to recommend clients which mutual funds they should invest into. I used to recommend them which IPOs they should get into and how should they do their financial planning. So I really loved that job profile. And during the same time, my job was more of explaining the clients the same thing. So I was, going to the institutes and universities, taking mock interviews. I was giving lectures and all. And then that's where my passion did drive towards getting into the education sector, because I realized that my education, if had I not done CFA, I would never understand what financial statements are, what is research, what is valuation. So I started, dedicating my life journey towards connecting with students and telling them it's not only CFA, but do all education, which really makes sense, which gives you that practical exposure. So that's where I did drive into teaching industry. So in 2012, 13, I quit everything and I started up a venture where I was dealing with education courses and training in a very unique manner, training with the practical experience and knowledge. So that's what I've been doing. So I started my journey by teaching at a small classroom in Mumbai, India. And, 10 years back when I was reading CFA book, I had read about sovereign wealth funds and everything. And, life takes a very fortunate turns. You just have to be patient. So after 10 years, at this very same sovereign wealth fund in UAE, I was at their headquarters and teaching their students. So this has been the transformation for me in the last decade. Yes.
Okay. So let's tell us a bit about your track record as an entrepreneur. How did you connect with students trying to do the CFA, and how did you connect with these big funds in the UAE, in the Middle East?
Okay. So, the advantage of CFA, initially I used to teach in my regional language only. Used to teach everything in Hindi. So I got connected to a lot of students in the local market. However, for CFA, I then realized, in fact, I was teaching entire CFA curriculum also in my regional language to the students out here, because I realized that when you teach them in the local language, they connect with the subject very well. So then later on, I realized that, I used to get a lot of queries on my YouTube channel from students that why don't you do it in English? So even we understand it. So gradually I started converting everything into English, and I started posting that on my YouTube channel, and people really liked it. I started getting views. In fact, one of my video has 250,000 views. So that's when I realized the power of English language, that you have a global world to connect with. So I started doing the lectures in English, and that's where I got attention on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and few of the corporates did get in touch with me, and they told if you could train our candidates. So that's where I got many of these opportunities. Yes. So it's honestly, it's because of the social media. So
Okay.
that has helped a lot.
Okay. Going back to your first years, can you tell us a bit more how the recruitment process works, especially in JP Morgan, because it's a worldwide recognized brand and many people around the world wish to go to work for JP Morgan?
Okay. So I'll tell you something that I've taken around 60, 70 interviews of candidates. I have myself given 20 to 30 interviews before joining JP Morgan, and many of them I failed badly. I failed miserably. So I'll tell you my experience over this taking interviews and giving interviews. Three things that a candidate should look when they are looking for a job. Three things: brand, which means a company like JP Morgan or a Morgan Stanley or any financial institute which is recognized. So a brand is very important. Second is profile, what exactly you are getting into. So as I said that I was into JP Morgan, but my profile was not that great. It did not motivate me to learn something. And then the third thing comes is the monetary benefit, the pay. How much is the growth? So we can't deny the fact that we all work for money. So money is important. All those people who tell me that, I can compromise with money, I say, no, it's a wrong step. Because once you start working at a low pay scale, it's very difficult for the companies to give you a 200, 300% jump. Yeah. Three things: that brand, profile, and money. These are the three things very essential for any candidate. So initially, when you are at a very, very initial stage in your career, you should at least look out for these two things. So brand and money also works. Profile and money also works. Brand and profile also works. This is what my experience has been. Now, what companies look? Well, companies look for freshers. They have a different criteria. For experienced candidates, they have a different criteria. For freshers, they know that these guys don't know a lot of things. So your zeal to learn, your passion is what they look at, and they do not like you having a lot of fluctuations in your job activity. No HR likes that. So you need to have a consistency in your resume. That's what they like for a fresher.
Okay.
But one very reality that I would like to tell you is that if you mention that you are doing CFA or any other course along with your job, they may appreciate it, but no one likes it, because everyone hires you for working full time, right? So you somehow have to manage your leaves and everything whenever you plan to join a company with these credentials. If you are an experienced, you've done your CFA, and then you are looking for a job, then yes, these companies would very much invite you. And along with your CFA, if you have any other qualification, that really adds up.
Okay.
So you having a master's degree or an engineer degree and CFA, that's currently the most looked out degree for all the recruiters. So you will be a very good potential candidate for these type of organizations. So most of the global banks, they want you to be masters in business administration or any other degree and a CFA. That's a very good combination.
Okay. So since it's not really clear out there, can you break down how the CFA exam is structured, and can you break it down how it works?
Okay. So first of all, there are three levels, level 1, 2, and 3. And in all the levels, you have the same subjects, same 10 subjects. Okay. You have subjects of ethics, which has the highest weightage in all the three levels. Ethics is the most important subject. Then you have equity valuation, then you have derivatives, you have fixed income, then you have alternative investments. Apart from this, you have quantitative mathematics. A lot of students tell me that, do we have a lot of mathematics in CFA? Well, you have statistics in level 1 and level 2, but not to a great extent in level 3. Then you have subjects like portfolio management, economics, and corporate finance, all these subjects. So overall, you have 10 subjects, and that's what the curriculum is made up of. You have the same subjects, but the level keeps on increasing. The first two levels are completely multiple choice. And the third level is partly multiple choice and partly descriptive. Normally, you have exams, initially you had just exams once in a year for level 1, level 2 and level 3. Now level 2 and level 3 have two exams in a year. And level 1, which initially had only twice in a year, now it has 4 exams in a year. So that's the case with level 1. So now anyone who wants to do CFA after their graduation or in the final year of their graduation, they can start doing CFA, give level 1. And after that, once you get your results, after that, after 6 months, you can register for level 2 and then level 3. So I think if you do it across in one attempt, you can complete CFA course within 1.5 years.
Okay. So is it viable even for people that are already working, or it will take more time for them?
So the curriculum is built in a way that you have to put in, let's say for level 1, you have to put in, I believe, 300 hours of study. So if I break down 300 hours along with your work, you have to spend 15 hours a week for, let's say, 6 months. Okay. So you have to start preparing 6 months before. Of that, the initial 5 months, you'll have to put 15 hours a week. Now, if you say 15 hours a week, that's hardly 2 hours a day. So you have to put that as a habit. You can't say that I'll put all the 15 hours on weekends. Well, that may not help. So CFA is doable with self-study. You just need to buy the books from the market. There are various books which I will tell you about. So you can buy the books from the market. You can start reading. The best thing about CFA is that curriculum is written so well in such an easy language that everyone will find it very easy to do self-study also. So if you dedicate yourself for, let's say, 6 months, 15 hours a week, for initial 5 months, you do it. And I would recommend you that last 3 to 4 weeks, you apply for leave already in advance, so that you need a time for revision and solving a lot of questions. So reading 15 hours a week, solving questions, and repeating this for the next 5 months. And the last month, keeping for revision and having a leave. I think this is a perfect, what I say from the experience, this is the perfect thing, whether you want to do it for level 1, 2, or 3. That's how you should build up. Yeah.
Okay. So going back to your experiences before becoming a mentor for CFA students, what are the instruments that you use the most during your work time? And did you get the chance to train for them in university, for example, on Bloomberg or Refinitiv or FactSet and so on?
Okay. So I think you're asking me that, did I use some tools to teach them, right?
Yeah.
During the CFA, or as a student or as a professor?
As a worker in JP Morgan and the other experiences you had before.
So in not exactly in JP Morgan, but after that, when I joined a bank, I did use Bloomberg as a tool. So Bloomberg, I've used Bloomberg as a tool. I have used Reuters as a tool. Bloomberg and Reuters are the most sophisticated platforms, very well known. And these are the platforms that you will definitely use once you get into the research. And they provide you very good training as well. So if you use Bloomberg platforms, you can, for example, in Mumbai, we had an office of Bloomberg where you just had to book an appointment with them, and they used to provide you basic training because it's a very unique platform to trade and all. So we use Bloomberg, we use Reuters, we use a lot of local softwares which were made in our country with respect to mutual funds. But most of the time, my seniors used to tell me to find information from open source. So we used to read too much of articles and magazines and quote that and put that as a reference. So most of our research was based on open source on the internet. And these days you have so much of information already available. You just have to take care that you have to write their sources. But most of the research begins from open source. And the best is looking at the company's financial reports. So I used to go to the SEC website where I used to download the reports and read the footnotes. So research actually begins by reading the raw financial reports. That's the first step that your seniors will always recommend you. They will tell you to read those financial. They will tell you to take the printouts of those financial reports and go through the balance sheet and income statement. That's what they do, and that's how you train yourself. And then over the period, you develop the habit of analyzing things. So
Okay.
analysis is not only learned, it is something that you develop as an habit over your course of research. Yeah.
Okay. So, a bit more about your experience. When you worked at JP Morgan, you were in the back office, right?
Correct.
And how's the work-life balance there, and how does that compare with front office roles? And is asset management better in that perspective?
It's a very exciting job if you are in the front office, but it takes a lot of effort for you to move from the back office to the front office. And that's where these degrees do help you. So work-life balance in any profile that you do, initially you have to be ready with putting good amount of hours at office, beyond office. And so let me tell you that for all those who are going to start working, I come across many students who right now call and tell me that, sir, I'm very bored with my profile, I want to change it. And I just make them realize that just a year back you were craving for this job. So
Yeah.
you need to understand that initial 2 to 3 years you will be probably doing something that you may not like, in the sense that you may not directly get, as I said, to do deals in the first year itself. So you may initially have to start with some basic work, and then gradually when you get accustomed to the system of the company, then you may get an opportunity. So patience is a key, even in a research field. Initially you may be supporting your seniors in making the research report. So I have many students saying that I am not given the due recognition. I say it's okay. You probably, because I have stayed in hostel. So in the first year we were always made to serve our seniors, and we always thought that this is very unfair, how can we be treated like this? But that's where you learn how to work under someone. And once you start learning that way, that then gradually you get the leadership skill, how to manage people. So job is just not about doing your work. I think if you want to grow, you also have to know how to manage people. So there's a very good saying that a good employee is hired, but a better leader is promoted. So
Okay.
that's what I have realized over the period. Yes.
Okay. So you get the chance to improve your soft skills so that you can improve as a leader as you go further.
And you have to constantly update with what's happening in the market. You have to use latest technology a lot. I have realized at whichever age you are, you should be knowing how to use technology. Those who don't know, or those who don't want to learn how to use technology, they may find it very difficult to access new resources.
So talking about technology, many people are starting to realize that financial analysts do not just have to know how to read the reports and so on, and have to learn how to program and
Yes.
manage technology. What are the best skills? What are the skills that are becoming more and more important, technical skills that are becoming more and more important in this field, and especially iBanking, investment banking, and asset management?
Okay. So, when a job in the research industry is about forecasting, and forecasting deals with, estimating future financial statements, and that's where your Excel skills or your spreadsheet skills does matter a lot. So we used to constantly do financial trainings with respect to how to put the numbers in an Excel sheet. So right from basic to advanced, and not only with Microsoft but with also with Mac. So we used to regularly, use those Excel skills because we deal with numbers. However, these days you have a lot of simulation tools. So every tool that comes into the market, initially it's very new for all of us. So we do have to do the training. It's very cumbersome initially to do the training of that, but with the information that you get at a click of button, that's very amazing. So most of my research, I left the research 8 years back. Most of my research required the skill of hardcore Excel, and that makes your job easier and faster. So having these skills was very essential. And then when it came to presenting of the reports, well, I did learn some skills. I over the period I did learn some skills, like I did in fact learn Photoshop also, Corel also, and various other skills. But most of the companies have their own dedicated team for designing the report. So you just have to make the report, and then you have a designing. So you don't have to worry about more of designing part, but you have to, yes, you have to work very good with numbers. So spreadsheet skills are very essential.
Okay. And one other thing about your previous experience is there a culture? I heard from people in other fields like consulting that there's this culture, you either go up the ladder or you ask to leave. Is it something that happens even in asset management and investment banking?
Yes, see, I've realized one thing. When it comes to managing people's money, they will hardly appreciate you when you make money for them, but they will not hesitate to, they'll not hesitate to tell you straight when you make losses for them. And there's no scope for error in this business. It's how well you handle it. So it's not always that the client will throw you out when you make losses for them, but are you doing it ethically? Ethics, I think, is the most important thing. If you're doing it with honesty, if you are very true and transparent with respect to your clients, I think they appreciate that. And losses or gains are subject to market conditions, but they do. So ethics is, I have experienced that ethics is the most important skill. And ironically, it is very rare to find analyst, because you handle so much of money that at times greed takes over everything. So if you're ethical, the clients will recognize, and over the period you'll be showered with a lot of responsibilities. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So can you tell us a bit more? How did you develop your company? Do you have employees that help you out in your training sessions, or are you on yourself?
Okay. So right now I do have a system where I have employees who help me with the aspects beyond training. So I have someone who helps me in getting the notes well designed. I have someone who does my operations. I have someone who does my accounting. So my employees do the back office work for me. Some manage the digital aspect for me. But the training part, the research part, I realize that I have to do myself. So when it comes to making the notes, when it comes to researching about it, I think only I can do it because I have to deliver that. So I have a very small unit out here, and I do cater various courses, but I design it myself. And I have few people who do come on my platform as a guest faculty where they want to deliver something to their to the candidates, and we have such sessions whether it's on fintech or whether it's on technical analysis. So we have guest faculties coming in, but designing of the product is what I do. And it's difficult to work without a team, so everything else is being taken care by the team. So that's what I think, that's where the efficiency and scale comes up, where you want to grow. I learned something in finance. Even if you can do everything, does not mean you should do everything.
Okay.
Because you can probably do something better. So I can do sales better, I can do typing better, I can do teaching better, but I should rather do something which brings more revenue. So I will rather focus on teaching, and I will give the typing and other aspect to someone else, even if they don't do better than me. So that's where the opportunity cost comes to play. So initially I was hesitant to have a team, but then I grew with the team. Even if they don't do better than me at times, I feel they take over my burden so that I can focus on research more. So if you want to grow ever, you need to have team, and you only then you can scale.
Okay. And one last thing I want to ask you is, how is India doing for people that want to work into finance? And are salaries competitive with other countries, let's say UAE or Europe or the United States?
Okay. So what my experience says that, if you want to compete in a country like India, you have various other courses which are, I cannot say they are less, but they are either at par or better than CFA also. For example, we have a course in India called Chartered Accountancy. That's so competitive and that's so comprehensive that if I were an employer and I have to hire a CA or a CFA, you won't believe I'll hire a CA, which is a chartered accountant, because he or she knows about finance as well. But the chartered accountancy also has accounting, taxation, auditing, and various other skills. Plus, they have 3 to 4 years of trainings, internship. So in India, CFA is looked out, but you have better competitive degrees also. So the problem with people in India who do only CFA, they find it very difficult to get good money. So I've seen the demand and supply, and with respect to that, the value that a CFA chartered holder gets in Middle East or abroad. Unfortunately, in India, it has now picked up, but unfortunately, it is not to that extent. So most of the CFAs that I come across, either they are working in investment bankings in India or they go abroad, because that's where they get paid well.
Okay. Is it something that is slowly changing, or is it improving from a salary perspective or not?
See, by the time it is about to improve, we have another financial crisis. So
Okay.
financial crisis also makes a big thing. For example, if the financial markets are not doing good, our job is completely dependent on that. So I tell students and everyone, in fact, that ironically, in the investment banking industry, there are no vacancies. There are no new jobs. There are only someone, if someone leaves, then they get hired. So
Okay.
you would find having hundreds of vacancies in research field. If someone leaves, then someone else is hired. You won't find new job openings you'll never find an article that we are hiring 500 analysts. Only, let's say, 20 analysts have been moved from one company to another, then you hire them. So, we have too many people looking out for such jobs. You have competition from chartered accountants, from MBAs, from CFA, but the job profiles are limited. So I think there's a big demand supply gap, because of which you need to either have dual degrees or you have to scale down with lower salary.
Okay. My last question is, in India, how is the culture around ESG growing? For
Absolutely.
example, I see interviews to Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, which is really talking about ESG and how that can solve many problems
Right.
in this world. Is it something that people talk about a lot, even in India and
Yes,
in
yes.
Asia.
Correct. I have recently attended a few sessions before the lockdown. I had attended few sessions organized by CFA Institute for ESG, and initially I thought that it's just sort of a trend, but now I see it being picking up. But then I realized that there were already NGOs or non-profit companies which were doing good amount of work in the ESG part, but now people also see profits in it, so you also get good returns. So we in India have many mutual funds who are based on ethical principles or who are Sharia compliant. So
Okay.
I think there is this surge of foreign investments who want to come in emerging markets, but with taking care of the ESG, and that's where the market is developing with respect to this thing. So over the last 5 to 8 years, what I believe is that it has gradually picked up, but in the last 2 years, especially after the pandemic, that growth has been to a good amount.
Okay. So great explanation. So thank you for your time. I'm done with the questions. If you want to say something more, I'm ready. And thank you for your time.
No problem. Anyone who wants to reach me out for what is CFA, what is the scope of CFA, they can connect me or they can put up the comment out here. And my intention is just that everyone keeps doing on regular education, because I believe education is not an expense, but it's an investment. So keep continuously growing, keep continuously learning, and don't do education just because someone has forced you to do it, or your boss wants you to do it, or your parents want you to do it, but just do it with the sake of learning and enjoying. Of course, passing is a very important thing, but when you try doing it practically with learning and enjoyment, I think that's where it makes you'll start loving the course. And that's what it happened with me with respect to CFA. So if you have any such queries, get back to me, please. No problem.
Okay. Thank you, Kunal, for your time. And this is it for today. This is Hustle Hub. I'm Giacomo. See you next time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye bye.